Okay, so in the first two episodes, I feel like a lot happened, but also not a lot happened, if that makes sense. There's been a lot of table setting, there's been a lot of effort and time going towards establishing our base premise, which I feel like the very base of the base premise is our character Frieren, who is, who adventured with these people, slayed the Demon King, saved the world, yada yada yada. And now there's this like building of the premise of like, okay, what's actually going to happen moving forwards with this character in this world? And that's what I feel like we are still working to fully establish. So let's go ahead and get into this episode and continue to do that. Starting episode 3 of Freeman in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and we are starting immediately with the OP. So as that's playing, I actually really quick, at the end of last episode, I talked a little bit about the studio that is in charge of this anime. And for some reason, Studio Madhouse is the studio. For some reason, the only series that I could think that Studio Madhouse had worked on to kind of illustrate my point was Hellsing Ultimate. But I knew that they had a bigger reputation than that. So real quick, while we're going through the OP, I'm just gonna go ahead and list off some of the many, many series that Studio Madhouse is known for. We have Death Note, we have the first season of One Punch Man, we have the Hunter x Hunter 2011 edition, we have No Game No Life, we have Parasite the Maxim, we have Death Parade, we have Overlord, we have High School of the Dead, we have Black Lagoon, we have Monster, we have, as previously noted, Hellsing Ultimate, we have Trigun, the original Trigun, we have Hajime no Ippo, we have, what else do we have? We have A Place Further Than the Universe. We have Paranoia Agent. We have Kaiji. We have, I know that there's a couple of other big name things. Cash and Sins, Prince of Stride. Yeah, so just again, just the point that I was trying to make is just like this is a studio that's been around for quite a while. Okay, we are still 27 years after the death of Himmel the Hero. Okay, so I just wanted to again at the end of last episode I was making some points that were kind of predicated on the fact that Madhouse is a studio that has been around a while. They are a studio with a lot of experience. They're a studio that has worked on a lot of different projects. Like this isn't some young up and coming studio that has no experience. They have no idea what they're doing. This isn't a studio that is just like trying to take on random projects and do random things. Like they have a good idea of what they're doing. They are, I would probably say, one of the most well known and well respected studios in modern anime creation. So like I I trust that they know what they're doing with this show. So let's get into what is happening right now in this show as as Frieren and Fern are wandering around this city. Oh, okay. Was she pouting? I feel like there were little lines at the corners of Fern's face. Oh my god, she's following her. I feel like Frieren is supposed to be the quote unquote adult in this companionship. But you wouldn't know it seeing some of the interactions we're seeing now. Oh, why is my keyboard so far over? Try to give myself a little bit of space to have my arms. She's panicking. What a silly little animation that was. I like that. With the just the little waterfall with the spinning leaves. Those are the kinds of little things that I would expect from a qualified and competent animation studio like Madhouse. As silly as that may seem to say, those little touches are really nice to me. I'm sure some people couldn't care less, but I wonder if this is a regular occurrence. With Fern following Frieren around to make sure that she's not squandering their resources. Did you just say I haven't had sweets in months? Oh wow, they really are destitute. These traveling adventurers be poor. Oh yeah, this looks fine. This must be it. Wait, what? Is the bait and switch that they're actually being completely serious? Incredible. You love to see a little subversion here and there. Not all subversion needs to be like big subversions of like the overall story and, plot lines and expected narratives. It can be little stuff like this and it's still fun. Sorry, I got sidetracked following you all day. This room they're renting looks really nice. Wow. Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. Just something I wanted to say. All right, this part is kind of what I was expecting. That she was asking around and doing her little information gathering as a way to treat Fern. This is kind of what I was expecting. Another flashback. Wonder if these are going to how long these are going to persist for. If this is still part of our premising like I was talking about at the beginning of the video, or if this is something that's actually going to like keep happening throughout the series. Sour grapes. She learned to spell for sour grape. Okay. If they're gonna keep throwing like these little nods throughout the video, I'm really liking this. Oh, that looks tasty. Yeah, and not surprising, it looks like the accessory was for her too. Come to think of it, it's my birthday today. Okay, come on, Fern. This one's on you. Ooh. Is it a headpiece? Yeah. You see it? What the hell? Uncalled for! To be fair, I was just thinking that neither of you seemed to be particularly good at understanding others and expressing yourself, so a little bit of pot calling the kettle black there, don't you think, Fern? Oh, and is she wearing her hair slightly differently now in order to accommodate use of that. That's nice. Oh, that's nice. But yeah, like last episode I pointed out how, when she recalled the fact that Himmel um had his connection to the blue moonweed flowers that we're seeing here in the flashback now. I noted how in the previous episode, the first episode, that she was, lamenting the fact that she didn't know more about him. And now we're getting this other flashback a few minutes ago to knowing about like the foods that he liked. And there was the little nod there as well that one of the other companions liked grapes that are, the more sour, the better. You've finally grown taller than me. 16 now. I could be. Oh my god, are they really doing this? I'm just gonna gloss over this. And again, in the last episode, one of the like random spells that she was learning as they were like recalling various spells that they'd collected from doing miscellaneous odd jobs. One of them was to make sour grapes. So yeah, these little hints and like nods from episode to episode, I'm really liking so far. Oh my word! Now we're attacking each other. Battle practice. Jeez. What was that? She just collapses and like, I could have died. Oh my word. Like this. Wow. So yeah, it's not all making flowers and sour grapes. It's also laser beams. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But that requires precision and very quick reflexes. So it's more difficult. I'm expecting her to fall, gonna be honest. Okay, they made it. How did she... I've read it myself, but Frieren seems to think that she hasn't read it. Was there something in what she said about the effectiveness of defensive spells that leads Frieren to believe that she hasn't read it? I'm guessing there's some kind of deeper meaning in the text, maybe, that Frieren was hoping she would glean that she didn't seem to have. Yet another thing that I'm wondering if they're going to touch on more later. Let me guess, you've met before. I bet she met this guy when he was like a kid or something. 80 years ago, by the way. Heroes Party really did a lot of work, didn't they? I'm sorry, what? You can't just like re-up the seal? I mean, you're here to do something quite similar now, aren't you? Quite cold. So, so the seal just kind of petrified him, it seems. Oh, this will be interesting. Nice design, bro. It'll be interesting to see if she's going to try to do this herself or if Fern's going to help. If Fern's going to help, if she's going to be more useful or more in the way from Frieren's perspective. This will be interesting to see. Be interesting to see how they handle this. Wow, this is more this is a bit more homely than where they were just staying. Then how are you strong enough now that you legitimately think you can beat him? Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. I don't suppose he's gotten weaker from being sealed, has he? Backfired on him? Yep. I was about to say you really haven't read. Yep. You'll see tomorrow. Oh, I think Fern is sweating right now. Oh yeah, she's meant to help here. We about to get some big action. I wonder if he's gonna know that he was sealed. I assume a mage as competent as him is like intelligent, right? Can communicate? Yep. Oh, that voice. So he knows he was sealed. He remembers who she is. A mere 80 years. He's gone. So good. Uh-oh. Isn't that the thing that goes through defensive barriers? Okay. God, his voice. Huh? Why is there a disconnect in understanding between them right now? Is like all offensive magic, does it have that quality now in order so that people know how to better defend against it? Yep. And that's what they're explaining now. Damn, I'm smart. I don't think it was too hard to figure out. Yeah, it's just basic stuff now. You have to level up even further. Yep, if you want to be as intimidating as you once were. Naruto. Is he gonna learn very very quickly? Okay. I think the budget's probably about to go crazy here. She's doing it? Oh, this is cool. It's not even like the most complex scene in terms of like fight choreography, but I feel like there's just a lot of cool stuff at play. By the way, oh, so you can fly. Neat. By the way, yeah, you needed to be aware that they can attack too. Taste of your own medicine. Inarguably much more powerful version of it. That was cool. It wasn't like, again, it wasn't super complex in terms of like what was actually happening. Like they were literally stationary for the overwhelming majority of that battle. Just kind of with some magic beams flying back and forth. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was neat. I think it was a cool fight because of the kind of the principles, I guess, the magic principles that were on display. There it is. Ah. Oh, interesting. So diverting from the slightly more serious topic of the magical principles that were on display during that battle with the unsealed demon. We got the reveal that that old man was in fact someone that she met when he was a kid. God, isn't he? So he's in his 80s. Lucky him. And that when he initially met her, he flipped her skirt up. And that might just seem like a silly, oh, haha, stupid, immature joke kind of thing. But something about that interested me. Real quick, I also just want to say I find it interesting that she pats her head so much because that was something her companions did to her that she would like not where she would like say not to do it, but she didn't actually mean it kind of thing because she recognized that it was like them showing that they cared for her. Anyways, let's get back to that point that I kept trying to make. Especially now when the ending here that episode went by quick. Um, at least comparatively, maybe I'm just used to expecting this show to go slow. After that happened in the flashback with the kid flipping up her skirt, there was Himmel responded to it, with like the kind of over exaggerated, sort of like anime response of being like over exaggeratedly upset on her behalf. But the thing he said, you just saw what I've been wanting to see. Again, I think that just because of the nature of how silly that flashback seemed, I think that it could be very easy to write that off as just like a meaningless line almost, just like meant to fit the joke of the scene in a sense. However, there was something that I didn't comment on last episode, but I was kind of wondering, did Himmel harbor romantic feelings towards Frieren? I think it's I think that what we saw of their interactions in the flashback, like with the flower field, I think there's little bits of things from like episode like from even prior to that flashback in the flower field. Um, just get on off that screen. Um, and then there's like other little bits of interactions that we did see prior to that, where you could maybe have drawn that conclusion, but it would have been jumping to a conclusion to say that. But then that scene in the flower field, it very much felt like it did not very much. It did kind of feel to me like there was some like the way he was expressing himself to her did to me kind of feel like there was more than just like a companionship of an adventuring party behind it. I did kind of get that impression. And so with that in mind, then seeing this little bit here where he's like, you brat, you saw what I've been wanting to see, it's kind of lending credence to that. Now, granted, this could just be, you know, his sort of way of interacting with his friends and this female member of his adventuring party. It could just be as simple as that. It could just be that like, there's this like fake fawning basically that's part of their relationship dynamic. That is entirely possible. There might not be like any serious intention behind it. It might just be like, a kind of silly little aspect of playing around with each other almost. Um, but I would not be surprised if we start seeing a little bit more and we do see that there was actually this deeper aspect to their relationship dynamic. And from there, if that does end up being the case, I'll be very interested to see to what extent it was one-sided, because from what I've seen so far, I would expect it to be one-sided. It doesn't seem like, from what we know and have seen of Frieren, well, while she's not like, there have been jokes about her being like, cold, heartless, whatever. Um, while she doesn't actively, openly demonstrate emotions on a consistent basis, like, she's not emotionless, right? We saw her crying in episode 1. She's not emotionless. She, like, for all the jokes about her being heartless, she's not, right? We know this. So, but the point that I'm trying to get by, reiterating this, um, is that even though I don't think she's emotionless, from what we've seen of her, she doesn't necessarily seem to have the kind of she doesn't seem to. I don't know if it's necessarily have the emotional capacity to engage in a romantic relationship, but I don't think that she would necessarily have the interest in engaging in that kind of relationship. What's more, I think that for all of the kind of, in a sense, immaturity that we've seen from her, with like the silly little things of like falling asleep with her hair wet, or like falling off the bed in her sleep that we saw in last episode. Like for all of these little things that highlight, in a sense, her lack of maturity in some with regard to some mundane things. I think that for more important things, like the way you treat people, I don't think that she is. I don't know if she's like as mature as I don't know if she's necessarily like significantly more mature than the average person, but I don't think she is. I don't think she is especially immature either. Like in the last episode, I'm pretty sure that the old woman, and maybe this particular line, maybe I shouldn't read too much into it because it might have been a translation thing, but I'm pretty sure that when Fern was talking to the old woman, about the potential non-existence of the blue moonweed flowers, and like the way that Frieren might continue to search for them for years and years and years because she has that kind of time available to her. The old woman said something about how Frieren is much more mature than either of us. And so I don't necessarily know if the extent to which I agree with that understanding of the kind of person that she is. but I don't think that she is especially immature just because she has these, again, just because with regards to these occasional more mundane things, she seems kind of naive. Like even the way that she wandered into that like basement bar asking about sweets, like Fern and also the audience are meant to see this as like a bad situation that she's walking into because she just like she can't read the room, right? But it ended up working out fine. But the point isn't what actually happened. The point is, I think, kind of to again to demonstrate that Frieren doesn't have this kind of this the same standards of like understanding society and situations that regular people do. With all of that being said, I'm trying the point that I'm trying to drive home here by again reiterating all of this and kind of putting putting out there what my current perception of Frieren as a character is to say that I think it likely that if Himmel's affections were serious, that she would not have been interested in returning those in going along with it just for the sake of going along with it to try to make him feel better because I don't think that she would legitimately return those affections if for no other reason than the fact that she recognizes I am already way older than you. As you age and grow old and die, I'm going to continue living. I'm going to continue to get far older than you. And it's not even necessarily like I don't want to get into conversations of like age discrepancies as a power dynamic in relationships. I don't want to. I'm not trying to go that direction. Um, but even putting the potential power dynamics aside, there is still something to be said about age and world and life experience differences and disparities in a relationship and how that can affect the kind of expectations in a sense that people go into with a relationship. And so there's like the feelings, the feelings of affection or whatever else, and then there's also the kind of logic of like this is the kind of person I am, this is the kind of person you are. Like there is an inherent mismatch here. So yeah, I think it'll be really funny if they end up not touching on this like at all going forward. And I just talked for how's this recording at? I just talked for 5-10 minutes about this, and it ends up being a complete non-factor. But yeah, that was kind of one of my big takeaways from sort of a pretty small point overall in terms of this episode because like that like the big points of this episode, right, were the first half where you had Frieren acknowledging that she doesn't really know Fern, but that she wants to know her better. She wants to get to know her better and at a more, in terms of human lifespans, at a more reasonable pace than what she was accomplished with her previous adventuring party. That was kind of the takeaway from the first half of the episode, right? Was those two bonding on a bit of a bit more of an emotional level. And then the second half of the episode was more about, again, the magic, the kind of various principles and practical applications of magic that we got to see both in the sparring session and then the actual fight against the demon, whose name I do not know and I'm not going to bother looking back at or remembering because he's dead. I don't imagine we're going to be seeing him again. We might, maybe he comes back in some weird manner, but I'm going to assume he's dead and gone. But the unsealed demon, the battle against him, again, there were some interesting principles and practical applications on display for the magic system. And yeah, it also, to that end, we also got to see a little bit of world building, not just in further fleshing out the magic system, which is something that I think we have been getting bits and pieces of. I actually, I think that there were things in the last episode also that kind of uh, gave us some sort of establishing information about how the magic system in this world works that I thought was pretty interesting. And now again, continuing in this episode, we're getting more information about the magic system, which is I think that power systems and in this, in fantasy settings and in this case in particular, magic systems are always interesting because none of them work the same, right? In any kind of, fictional setting or environment and world and universe, like magic slash power systems are going to work at least a little different from others that you've seen before. And so getting to understand how the various ins and outs of those systems work without having to have everything like explicitly explained and like just like very I mean that we are getting explicit explanations in the show, but it's not just like, how do I say this? The explanations are not boring. They're not like, it's not like you're reading from a textbook, I guess. Even though the explanations from people like Frieren might be fairly straightforward in the information they are trying to convey to you, it doesn't feel like you're being lectured to and taking like Magic 101 for how it works in this world. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that point is at least somewhat getting across. Um, and then also in terms of lore and world building, like just the fact that that we are continuing to see previous encounters and effects that Frieren's, heroic adventuring party had on the world, aside from simply saving people and, achieving world peace by killing the Demon King. The fact that we're seeing specific instances of like, oh, this thing happened in this town or village, and I'm doing this because I need to, properly address this thing that we didn't fully address decades ago. Like, I think that this is really good world building. I think that this is really good. This is a really good way of expanding on the lore and the kind of. It feels weird to say history of the world because it's things that happened as part of Frieren's life, and she's just sort of backtracking to. You get what I mean? It's a little weird to think of it as history when we're seeing it through the eyes of someone who is there for beginning, middle, and end. But again, we're talking about a period of, in this case, 80 years, almost a century. Like it's history. It's part of the history of this world, and so I think that this is just another thing that the show is currently doing really well. And again, it's another thing that I'm interested to see to what extent they keep up with doing things like this. And to that end, something that I was talking about earlier, and then I started to touch on a slightly adjacent point, but then got sidetracked with something else, I believe. I don't think I finished this point during the episode. So I was talking about how we have seen so far multiple times already in these first three episodes, in just these first three episodes, where something is said or happens, and then an episode or two later, we see something calling back to it. Again, the big thing that I focused on earlier when I was talking about this point was the sour grapes, right? So that's really cool. And then the thing that I was starting to try to segue to, but again, I don't think I fully hit on this. I think I tried to start, and then maybe something else happened, and I tried to finish it. Regardless, let me finish the other point, which is that I feel like there have already been multiple instances of things happening, and I go, I wonder if we're going to get an explanation to what that little thing was about later. And yeah, that's so. I think that because of the way other things have been happening in this show so far, again with the little callbacks with things like the grapes, the lore building that is very directly building on past events that we are getting flashbacks to, and then addressing the implications of in the current time. Like I feel like because of the way that I have seen things play out thus far in these first few episodes, I'm expecting that a lot of the times when I'm saying, I wonder if we're going to get an answer to that later, I'm expecting the answer to be yes. At the moment, I'm expecting the answer to those questions to be yes. I don't know when they're going to come back up, but I'm expecting a lot of the things that I'm having questions about in these early episodes to, in some way, shape, or form, come back up later. So, yeah, there's just, again, I'm just for a lot of reasons, in a lot of ways, I'm just looking forward to continuing to watch this show to see how it continues building on its story and how it continues to deliver on initial promises and like seeds that it's planting. And with all those ranty rambling points made, that is going to be all for this episode and this video. Looking at the timer, that is probably going to be my longest video to date. But remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out other videos on the channel if you are so inclined to do so. And until I see you in the next one, take care. Bye-bye.